Hello and welcome to the Music Scout Podcast with myself, Lewis Fisher, and welcome to Album of the Year 2018. Yes, it has finally arrived, folks. After months and months of putting together this list, it has finally been compiled, locked down, certified, and we're going to hear the best 10 albums of the year, which has been chosen by myself. It's taken a long time to create this, but let's get on to the first track of the podcast then for you with Anthony Green and Keep Your Mouth Shut.
Shows the way it's too much to contain, and it's not any trade. So just watch what you say, you fool.
To kick us off for the evening at number 10, we have Anthony Green with the album Would You Still Be In Love? And that was the song Keep Your Mouth Shut. The singer from Circa Survive has definitely brought his A-game to his solo career, and he's definitely brought us just a perfect example of how to create a singer-songwriter album with just the basics. Just strip back. No layers, no extra bits and bobs. You know, he has got on this record extra backing vocals as well as some strings as well and an extra guitar here and there. But in a whole, compared to other singer-songwriter albums, this one is very basic in terms of the actual instruments and everything he uses, but that does not hinder the quality of this record. This record is really, really good for if you just want to listen to some expert songwriting and also some expertise in just him being in the business for so long, he knows what works, he knows how to create such amazing songs. And also, if you haven't checked out Circa Survive, I would highly recommend you do. And if they do make an album next year, you can bet your ass it's going to be on the top 10, because their albums are insane. If you do like any sort of mix of pop punk and progressive rock, they sort of blend the two together very nicely and create this amalgamation of some brilliant work. And also Anthony Green's voice is absolutely fantastic as well. His voice has got that gravelly graspiness, but then also can be very soft and melodic as well at the same time. And it's nice to see somebody bringing out both of those for such a mellow vibe song. Obviously at the end, it gets a bit harsher, but overall, a fantastic record. So let's move on to number 9 then. This is going to be Calms and the album Satellites. Calms, you may know from previous episodes of the podcast. They are fans of the podcast as well. We've had them on twice. The first ever guest to be featured twice on this podcast. I was completely taken away by their first debut album, Satellites. And we're going to listen to the track We Always Lose. At number 9, we have Calms with the album Satellites. And this album was always going to be in my top 10 just because I'm very proud of these boys. They have created an album that is worthy of a place in this list, but also worthy of a place for more listeners to listen to it who really enjoy just a really clever rock music that's been created. Not only that, the dynamics of this album take you on a massive journey through all of these songs. So the likes of, Son of a Man and also We Always Lose are a perfect example, and even the latter half of Satellites are perfect examples of albums that you can really delve into with a sort of more aggressive side. But then you go into the likes of Beautiful Magic and you can see there's a completely different side to the band, of which I love both of them, to be fair. And you don't get that very often anymore. Usually if you have a theme, you stick to it and you go with it, but it's really nice to see that they've been working with a lot of different themes, a lot of different sounds, and also a lot of different dynamics as well. So Calms get number 9 spot. So coming in at number 8 is the self-titled debut album from Dreamwife, and we're going to listen to a song called Let's Make Out. Their number 8 spot, we have Dreamwife and the self-titled debut album for them, and you just heard the song Let's Make Out. This album I wanted to put on this list just purely because they are a very sassy trio, as you can hear, and also it's a bit of tongue-in-cheek, and also just they've got the aggression as well. You could hear it in Let's Make Out in the choruses, and I think they just wanted to shout about things. They had a lot to say, they had a lot to speak about, but they've got a lot of sass about them as well. If you watch a live performance of Dreamwife, you can see the sass radiating from them, but also that just the seriousness of trying to engage the audience with what they're trying to say. but also on top of that, they have some very clever lyrics and also some very clever themes around most of this album. I think this album really speaks volumes of where rock music is going, but also female rock music as well. It's very empowering, very powerful, very funny, but also has a lot to say as well, as a lot of messages in this, and also you can take them seriously but also have a laugh and have a bit of sass on the way as well. Always love a bit of sass. So that's the reason why I've chosen this album. It's a brilliant album. Do go pick it up. So we'll move on to number 7. So this is going to be the album Everything Dies from Nervous, and this is going to be the song Sick Sad World to represent these boys.
As good as it gets, my head's a permanent mess, and I can't think for the stress. I close my eyes and pretend that the ground beneath me has disappeared. I float above the space below, and in this moment I know that in a second my phone will blow the silence away. 'Cause it's late and I'm still here. What did you expect? My brain is melted in my head. I wasted too much time, got lost in someone else's life. So where do I begin? Rewind and override. Hope life begins at 29. So won't you let me in? My head's a permanent mess, and I can't think for the stress. I close my eyes and pretend that the ground beneath me has disappeared. I float above the space below, and in this moment I know that in a second my phone will blow the silence away. 'Cause it's late and I'm still here. What did you expect? My brain is melted in my head. I wasted too much time, got lost in someone else's life. So where do I begin? Rewind and override. Hope life begins at 29. So won't you let me in?
Number 7, we have Nervous with Sick Sad World, coming from the album Everything Dies, and you can see why I've chosen this as number 7, because it's an absolute rip-roar of a record, and this pretty much flows through from Sick Sad World. All of the themes you just heard, the clever indentations, and also just the little stabs that they put in there, as well as the clever songwriting, and just chopping and changing up every now and again, along with the heavy support of the backing band as well. So the other songs I would ask you to go check out is It Follows, Medicine, Hold Tight. They're all brilliant, but also just listen to the album in full, because it's one of those albums where it flows perfectly from start to finish. An absolutely brilliant record to just go and sit down, chill out to. But also, any rock fans out there, I'd highly recommend you go and listen to this album. So let's move on to number 6 then, where we have 10 Minute Detour. These boys featured back in 2014 with their song Four Papers. and this is going to be their second album now, and this is the album Common Pleasure, and we're going to hear one of my favourite songs from that record, Nashville Geographic. I always knew these boys were going to be special, and they rightly deserve number 6 on this list. 10-Minute Detour and the album Common Pleasure, of which you just heard the song Nashville Geographic, which is one of the songs from midway in the album. And there's also just the whole album. Once again, I'm just going to pretty much repeat myself for all of them, because again, the whole album just has a lot of presence, a lot of pleasure from just listening to, once you've listened to it a few times and then you come back to it maybe a month or so, you think, oh, there's a banger, that's a really good song, that's a really good song. And you find that each of those songs has evolved, and if you listen to their first album, I could hear signs of there was something special, and they changed up their band. There's also an interview, I think it was beginning of this year, or the end of last year, where I spoke to 10 Minute Detour, and they had a switch up of a few members as well, and they were a bit nervous about bringing out this slightly different sound, but if anything, they've just evolved, they've grown up, and they've really matured in this sound, and I think they've done a really good job here. So Nashville Geographic, definitely one of my favourite songs from that record, but do go check it out. And I think Betty is the first track on this record, and it just gives you a really good place to be, to give you a good idea of how good this album is. So let's move on to number 5 then. We are halfway through, folks. We're halfway through all of the album of the year already. Can you believe that we are already halfway through? It's taken me months to put this together, and it's an hour bloody episode. So it's been pretty rocky so far, but let's turn it down a little bit. And we're going to hear from Novo Amor. He has taken number 5 in this chart. And obviously, from last year, you knew that Novo Amor and Ed Tullett got second, and they probably would have got first if they'd have released their album a little bit sooner. But I was absolutely captured and mesmerised by their album as a duet. But this is Novo Amor's debut album, would you have it? And this is the album Birthplace, and we're going to hear the song State Lines from this record.
I've been away in every state line, dying to make it last as a lifetime. Trying to shake that it's all
Novo Amor taking a 5th spot on the Music Scout Podcast Album of the Year 2018, and the song State Lines is beautiful as ever, and the whole album is taking all these characteristics and just bundling it into one album. The album itself is absolutely gorgeous. I just cannot describe how gorgeous it sounds through headphones, and also just takes you on a little journey through what Novo Amor has tried to produce and has done very, very successfully over the last course of the 4 or 5 years that he has been around. The songs Birthplace, as well as State Lines, and also Utican as well, are all perfect examples of the mastery that is Novo Amor and what he can create. As well as this, he has got some really good causes that he tries to bring to the forth as well. Like the music video for Birthplace, which I highly recommend you go check out, is about the rubbish that we dump in the sea, and also what it affects for and the effect it has on nature. As well as this, the album, I managed to buy the album on vinyl, and it's a lovely recycled vinyl actually. So no vinyl is the same, and it's actually a really cool way for artists to get a bit more creative, even though they don't necessarily have to do too much. But using recycled vinyl is also keeping the cost down a little bit, and also making it really cool as well. If you get a chance to check out the vinyl display, it's really, really cool. I really like it. So hats off to Novo Amor, but unfortunately it was only 5th place, because there are 4 more artists that somehow were better than this, which is insane, considering that Novo Amor was 2nd and potentially 1st last year and could only get 5th this year. So number 4, we're getting into the serious part now of the album of the year. This is going to be Shame and the album Songs of Praise, and we're going to hear the song One Rizzler.
Best you've heard, and you can choose to hate my words, but
Number 4 on the list is Shame with the album Songs of Praise, and you just heard one Rizzler from that album. Now this album got 4th spot because it has really changed the shape, as well as another band that is coming up potentially in this album of the year, which is a nice little hint for you, is also making ways for the new era for post-punk, and it's really cool to see that these artists are really capturing a lot more people than I think we all expected. When I first heard this album, it was brought to my attention through Six Music Recommends, and I thought this is actually a very, very good album. When I listened to it on holiday, I just took the time to just sit down, chill out, and I thought this is actually something very special here. The lyrics in this is just so genius, so creative, and especially in the song The Lick, it's just so catchy and just so menacing, and also just a little bit addictive to hear him sing all of these different parts, and especially with the singer's tone and his voice as well. It's very different, very unique, and he talks like this. I can't actually do a very good impression, but do go listen to The Lick because he also has a bit of sass in the song. I don't know, I've got a thing about having a bit of sass, but it's not expected either. I think a lot of this album is just not expected. Some really catchy hooks, really catchy riffs, and some very popular songs from this album, which makes Shame one of the biggest bands to come out of 2018, especially in the post-punk world, and also a lot in the just the generic pop world. I think they've done fantastically with album sales and also just general growth over this year. So really looking forward to seeing what Shame are going to be doing over the next few years, and they have brought out an absolutely stunning album. So on to number 3, of which I don't think you guys would really think that this is number 3. I think the amount that I've been talking about this band over the last 2 years, you would expect them to have number 1 spot, but they've been pipped by 2 artists, and that is Black Foxes with the album Rady, and this is going to be the track Manic in Me.
We were dancing again, like we're empty bodies. I wonder if you felt the same. My bones are your body. I've gotta get out of here. My reflection was starting to change. Am I anybody? I took a razor to my head. It left me so dependent on you. I've gotta get out of here. You are the weather. I am the manic in me. You are the weather. I am the manic in me. I've gotta get out of here. I was planning on running away, change my match from state to state. I was torturing. My bones are your body. I've gotta get out of here. You are the weather. I am the manic in me. You are the weather. I am the manic in me. I've gotta get out of here. You are the manic in me. You are the manic in me. You are the manic in me. Slow down. You are the manic in me. I've gotta get
Black Foxes taking third place on the album of the year 2018, and it kills me to put them in third because they are one of my favorite rock bands and I absolutely love them. This record has just evolved the band in terms of their sound, the creativity, the songwriting. I think Mark Holley has done a fantastic job with the vocals once again, the power of the drums and the bass as well, just bring it all together. It's such a good record, and the top three were so damn close, so close between each other. But we have got our number 3 spot with Black Foxes, Rady. If you haven't listened to that record, do go out to your local independent shop and go buy it. Go buy it on vinyl, treat yourself, because it's a beautiful vinyl as well. Before we get to the final 2 albums, don't forget to check out the podcast website, which is themusicscout.co.uk. You can also email me with your submissions of music to themusicscoutpodcast@gmail.com. As ever, as always, on the social media, it is The Music Scout on Facebook and Instagram, and The Music Scout with a little underscore on Twitter. So, number 2, who just about got pipped to that crown of album of the year to join the likes of Paolo Nutini, join the likes of Father John Misty. Well, it's Isaac Gracie, and his self-titled debut album. Once again, it's a debut album coming in at number 2. This man has impressed me after not knowing a single thing about him until I discovered his music around about summer of this year. This is going to be the song Terrified. Do enjoy.
Well, I sleep all day and drink all night. Just give me one good reason, I'll turn out my light. Now I'm terrified. Now I'm terrified. And I've heard all the people calling my name, but they'll never see just how I've changed. Now I'm terrified. Now I'm terrified. 'Cause I don't wanna be your boy, I wanna be your man. But something's got me wrong inside. Now I'm looking for the answer I don't understand. Darling, I'm terrified. I'm terrified that maybe I wasn't cut out for this. You know I'm terrified that maybe I wasn't cut out for this. And though it's hard to explain how it got this way, and people only want to know why, well, I wish I had the answer that would make it okay. The truth is I'm just terrified. 'Cause I don't wanna be your boy, I wanna be your man. But something's got me wrong inside. Now I'm looking for the answer I don't understand. Darling, I'm terrified. I'm terrified.
number 2 on Album of the Year goes to Isaac Gracie with his self-titled debut album, and that was the song Terrified, which opens up the album. Once again, is a mesmerizing and also very clever song, and this pretty much continues throughout the whole album. I think this is why I put this at number 2, because I was shocked when I listened to this and that I did not know who Isaac Gracie was, but the fact that this is his debut album and he's producing music like that to appeal to quite a pop, quite a widespread audience, but at the same time, the musicality of this album is second to none. It is absolutely fantastic, and I think this definitely shows what young musicians are capable of, and this guy has got an incredible voice, and songs like Since the Death of You and I have just been wowing me ever since. He's put like a spin on bringing two genres together, pretty much like the doubleheader of music. Think of it like that. He's pretty much clunked together two genres of sort of a Spanish calypso theme and genre to then straight down to like a real rock record, and it's brilliant, and he just absolutely nails that song. Others like Telescope are fantastic, a real depth into his songwriting, his personal feelings as well. I think this is the most personal album I've heard in quite some time, so I've been very, very impressed by him. So if you haven't given this album a listen, do go and check it out. So here we go, folks. A year in the making, and this comes down to this final moment. This is your album of the year 2018 for the Music Scout podcast. Over 500 songs listened to, over 100 albums listened to as well, getting down to this moment. And the winner goes to Idols with Joy as an Act of Resistance. Yep, I've gone for the punk boys. This album is just revolutionary. I think I was going to say generationally, but that's not even a word. Revolutionary. This album is. This album is an album for a generation. I think this album is something that is so important right now and tackles so many amazing issues that people need to talk about more. I've said it many times on the podcast about this record, and that this record has really shown me that you can talk about if you're not feeling okay. You can talk about that if you're a man and you start crying, it's perfectly okay. We're in a modern society now where men need to cry more. God forbid if anything happens to my future children and one sadly passes away due to premature birth. It's expressing men to talk about these things because we're scared about talking about them, but also it brings unity together, and unity to the audience who listen to this band, and also just the open-mindedness of this album is incredible. And I just want to give anyone who is racist or homophobic just to listen to this album and just be like, right, you sit down and you listen to this album and it would change your goddamn mind, because what these guys are talking about is so important right now in modern day society. And I could not be prouder to put this at number 1, because as much of it deals with Brexit as well as unity with all races of the world, to expressing yourself as a man, but also to take the piss as well out of people who have sausage hands and people who, like to go to the gym all the time. Just little things like that. The power and creativity in this album is just second to none. It is insane. The level of noise this album can produce is insane. And also just those quirky little lines that Joe Talbot produces about like bacon baps and somebody crying at the price of a bacon bap in the Brexit song, to calling someone out who's got sausage hands, who goes to the gym every day and who's just a goddamn loser. It's just such a clever record, and it was so quick after the first album. Their first debut album came out last year and they just got this one out the door. So yeah, I was very impressed that such a high quality after just producing your debut album straight after, get the second one in. So do enjoy the lead single from this record, Danny Nedelko, and I will see you all in January for the next season of the Music Scout podcast. I will definitely be back with regular episodes weekly. You do not need to worry about that. So until then, if you are missing me too much, you can listen to the episodes once again. You can listen back to any previous episodes over the last year or so, and also last year as well. There are over 88, 89 episodes, so going to be prepping for episode 100 fairly soon because that's coming up as well. So enjoy Danny Nedelko. Congratulations to Idols, and a special commiseration to all 9 other artists who made the list. It's Anthony Green, Calms, Dreamwife, Nervous, 10 Minute Detour, Novo Amor, Shame, Black Foxes, Isaac Gracie, and Idols, who are crowned Album of the Year 2018. I'm Lewis Fisher from the Music Scout, and I am going to see you out with Danny Nedelko. Have a Merry Christmas, have a Happy New Year, and I will see you all in 2019 for what may be another amazing year of music, new music, and also just music in general, to be fair. Ta-ra!